Breaking news, I'm on location, outside, where people are setting things on fire. We just had a Ben Shapiro sighting. He's burning Barbies over there.
It's just a movie about a doll. Why are you so upset about a movie about a doll? I don't know. Why are you so upset that I'm upset about a movie about a doll?
Okay, have you seen Ben Shapiro information?
I've seen him be really mad and set Barbie dolls on fire.
He set Barbie dolls on fire.
About the wokeness.
He made a video. Its title is Ben Shapiro Destroys Barbie for 43 minutes.
Yeah.
So he burns his Barbies like he's Sid in Toy Story.
The entire film is a dog's vomit. It is a dog's breakfast. How empowering it is for women to sing about the moisture state of their genitals.
I watched his 43 minutes. I did not watch it on YouTube. I downloaded it. It didn't get any watch time credit from me.
Okay, great. Love that.
You look at the politics of this movie, you're like, man, so it sounds like a double sandwich. It doesn't sound like a Big Mac. It sounds like a double Big Mac.
I have just some highlights. One of his major issues he takes is that the target audience is moms and their 7-year-old daughters. And then this film does things that are stupid because the little girls, it's inappropriate or they won't understand it. So the film is therefore dumb. No, and I'm like, that's not the target audience.
It's definitely not.
So he repeatedly was like a 2001 A Space Odyssey reference or a Proust reference. Clearly this isn't for 7-year-old girls. And I was like, yeah, which is why you're clearly wrong in saying that that's the target audience.
Right,
the target audience is everyone. He doesn't seem to understand like what a tentpole film is, or that a film can have an appeal to a wide audience. It's like, no, the appeal must be this very small slice, and then anything that's not to the 7-year-old girls is like, well, these filmmakers are idiots.
So the intended audience for this film is moms and their 8-year-old daughters. That's the intended audience for the film. Isn't this a kids movie? Isn't this supposed to be made for 7-year-old girls? Nope.
What's the target audience of Toy Story? Can adults enjoy this film too?
Not allowed, Jeff. Adults
not allowed.
are not allowed to like that at all. The adults that come with them, they must suffer through every moment of the film.
It's real slog. It's real dookie smoothie.
There's stuff for the moms. There's stuff for the little girls. There's stuff for me and Erin, who she is not a mom.
Yeah, same.
It's also, he's saying stuff like,
it references variously Marcel Proust, Robert Evans, and the cinematography of The Godfather. 2001 A Space Odyssey. This is a movie made for moms and their 7-year-old girls.
They won't get it. I was like, so he's saying like moms can't understand references.
Yeah.
Moms definitely have never seen The Godfather.
Moms don't know anything about Godfather or 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Moms have definitely never been in a position where a man is like, oh, you've never seen The Godfather?
Right.
That's never happened to moms. He said the opening weekend's going to be big because the advertising has been great, but the repeat business will tank. So what do you think the repeat business will be like, Jess?
I mean, I'm going in a few hours.
Oh my God.
Wait. I'm so excited to go. And I like want to go later in the week too.
My prediction is going to just absolutely fall off a cliff after that. The repeat business on this movie is going to be non-existent because it was written by two people who are so smug and self-satisfied, in Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, that they have no audience.
If anything, the repeat business is going to be
huge. This
is going to be the biggest film of the year for repeat business.
Yeah. I look forward to owning it on DVD.
Yeah.
The repeat business on this movie is going to be non-existent because it was written by two people who are so smug and self-satisfied, in Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, that they have no audience. Nope.
He said that Kate McKinnon as Weird Barbie was not funny.
But she was hilarious.
Not funny. He found, the moment when Barbie gets the real world, oh God, and getting catcalled. Yeah. He found that moment very unrealistic.
And a bunch of men just leer at her and say, give us a smile, Blondie, which is something that no one under the age of 70 has said to a woman in the recent past. Give us a smile, Blondie? Seriously?
Oh, please.
What?
Would you like to give us a 5-minute TED Talk?
There's
Would you like to tell Ben Shapiro?
There's going to be a million times I've heard that.
When was the last time you heard "Give us a smile, Blondie"? Have you heard that exact quote, do you think?
Definitely, considering that I was also bleach blonde for a long time. I probably heard it millions of times.
And from men of all ages?
Definitely.
Yeah. How often would you say you get told to smile by a stranger?
I remember one time I was going for a walk and I was really sad that my grandma was in the hospital. And I was really sad and I had a little tear roll down my cheek, and a man in a truck pulled over and said, "Oh, why are you sad? You should smile." A man in a truck driving by. "Oh, why are you sad?
I need to tell this woman
you should smile."
That all her problems would go away if she just smiled.
Just put on a smile.
Put on a smile. You dumb bitch. Ben says there's only one good line in the movie. Do you think you can guess what it is?
Sublime.
Because that's just like funny, and he clearly doesn't understand jokes. Alleged tween says that Barbie's a fascist, and then Barbie's like, but I don't control the railroads or the flow of commerce.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
He said that was the only good line in the movie.
That was a good line.
It was a good
It
line.
was hilarious.
It was
But
hilarious.
Now, there's only one problem with that line. As with the entire movie, there is no character consistency. Barbie is supposed to be an idiot bubblehead piece of plastic from Barbieland. How does she know what a fascist is?
Authority should derive from the consent of the governed, not from the threat of force.
What?
I was like, Barbie's the president and an astronaut and a Nobel Prize winner. Barbie's not
Barbie's
dumb.
a rocket scientist.
He
This
does-
movie wasn't targeted for Ben Shapiro, so why did he even go?
I don't feel beautiful anymore.
No, it's targeted exactly at him to make his life a living hell, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to beat you off.
He does make a joke in his review.
I'm a man with no power. Does that make me a woman? No, you can't parallel park. That's what makes you a woman. Okay? And in any case,
What?
Ben was very upset about
are about to perform. None of this makes any damn sense.
the constitutional amendments. The king seized power to make kingdom, and then they're gonna amend the constitution to like permanently make the kingdom or something. Ben was very upset about this, thought it made no sense for the plot, because if you just seized power, so why do you need to amend the constitution?
Why? Ken literally just seized power. He's a fascist. What the f*** is he gonna vote for? Like, he seized power. Also, what is the breakdown demographically of the Kens and the Barbies?
No, fascists always use the air of legitimacy. He
And
doesn't read a lot, does
And then
he?
here's the Wikipedia page. You look at that. Fascists change constitutions, man. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? He just thinks he's so smart.
Secular humanism is at its finest. We've reached the apotheosis. Now, here's one place where you have a serious continuity error in the film.
Which is, do you remember the moment when Barbie like sits down and then is like very rigid and then like falls
Yeah.
over on her side? And it's like, oh, like a doll.
It's a joke, yeah.
And it's a joke and it's funny.
It's a sight
And we
gag.
laughed.
One of the world's most boring, crappy comedies.
He thinks that it's a continuity error because she's not acting all rigid like a doll
Through the whole
constantly through the whole movie.
What?
Therefore, it's a continuity error.
Wow.
It's like, Ben, that would just be so obnoxious if she had to do that the whole movie. It'd be
Yeah.
funny the first time. He was upset about building a wall. And also, and A, because it's anti-Trump. But B, he said it made no sense that they would want to build a wall because, and I quote,
No one has ever entered or exited Barbieland before. Why are you building a wall? What is the necessity for a wall? No one explains.
He said all of NSYNC was Alan's. They even mentioned
they talk, there's the Skipper incident.
the Skipper
Yeah.
incident.
And even if none of these incidents, several times that have been mentioned, even if those hadn't been mentioned, the plot is about people coming and going, and
Yeah.
humans are
Yeah.
coming. So people are doing it now, and they want to build a wall now.
What is the necessity for a wall? No one explains.
And, what, like, he's like, this plot doesn't make any sense. What is their motivation? It's like,
He's reaching.
It's just a dumb Trump reference so that everybody who is friends with Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig can laugh and nod, like the morons they are.
the part where Helen Mirren butts in to say, note to the writers, if you want to make this point,
Margot Robbie might not be the best person to make this point, right? Because Barbie's saying, I don't feel beautiful anymore.
this is funny,
Yeah.
right? He said,
Margot Robbie may not be the best person to make this point. Then maybe you shouldn't have written the point. Then maybe you shouldn't write it like that. Maybe you should not be a writer.
What?
he doesn't understand what a joke is. He does not understand what a joke is. When a joke is told straight at his face, he goes, that doesn't make plot sense, and it's a continuity error. And we're like, Ben, people laugh. It's a joke.
It is your vagina.
When they're talking about the dichotomy or the contradictions women have to be, and you have to do this but not that, and you have to be powerful but not a bitch. You have to reject men's advances but not damage their egos.
Or theoretically, you could just reject men's advances and damage their ego because what do you care?
So what do you care, Jess? Why would you care if a man was making advances on you? Why would you want to reject him and not damage his ego?
I don't want to be murdered. I love living.
Like, it doesn't occur to him that there is violence against women.
I like, the way he was like pissed that she said that she felt a violent undertone in their views.
And he thought that was unrealistic as well. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't think Ben has ever had to reject an advance.
Nope.
One time, my friend Peachy and I went to the gas station up here, and this guy was hitting on us, and he all of a sudden started threatening us and screaming and yelling at us and wouldn't let us leave. Then all of a sudden, the guy behind the the like glass thing. He's like, hey man, you're scaring him. And then Peachy was like, he's not fucking scaring me. I've got a knife. And I was like, we have to go. We have to go right now.
I have to go right now. He said the ending is transphobic. Or like, I'm going to the gynecologist. He said that's transphobic.
I think it's important to take care of your sexual health.
Because the key to being a woman is you go to the gynecologist. So therefore it's transphobic.
I don't necessarily think that she was trying to say that was the key, but just that that was a very important thing to do.
It didn't pass Ben Shapiro's wokeness test.
It is your vagina.
Oh, wow.
Key.
Wasn't
See, I thought that was a
expecting
funny line as a callback to
the genitals thing.
the genitals thing, but I thought it would have been funny if she said, I'm here to see my therapist.
I like the gynecologist comment more.
I thought
I feel
the
like
therapy...
since she's existential dread, it like ties more into the theme.
Yeah, it
of
would have been
the
just
film.
a neater bow
Well,
at the
but I
end.
think the theme of the
Yeah.
film is, or another theme, another metaphor layer on the film is that it's about becoming a woman.
Yeah.
Like, she's a little girl's idea of a woman and then like starts having darker feelings and then gets a little bit of cellulite and then starts noticing men are like violently staring at her, you know, and at the end she gets a vagina, I guess. If only women only got their vaginas after puberty, it would probably be a better place. Is that a weird thing to say out loud?
Yeah,
In the least creepy way possible.
I get what you're saying. I do. I really do.
Oh god. Ben Shapiro said that this will hurt the Barbie brand.
Disagree.
This maybe just made the Barbie brand billions of dollars.
Here's the thing. I will
This has
say
reinvented Barbie.
Yeah.
Battleships was a horrible fucking movie, and it probably didn't even hurt the Battleship brand.
And this is going to have some ramifications for Barbie, the brand.
I guess he's just banking on like a conservative anti-woke
Backlash.
backlash.
What doll
that
are they
he's
gonna
gonna
buy?
try to make happen.
Yeah, he's gonna drum it up.
Are they gonna introduce their own conservative doll?
Fox News Barbie.
I feel like Pregnant Skipper was
They have
already their
1,000 of them.
conservative doll.
As a piece of film, this sucker goes in like my bottom 10 ever. The entire film is a dog's vomit. It is a dog's breakfast of film. So yeah, I'm gonna go with negative infinity Barbies.
So he's never seen The Room.
Bottom 10 ever films.
So we'll see what the income trajectory of this film is. By the way, it's just gonna die in China. The overseas market for this film, good luck with the Chinese Communist government putting their kids in front of this sort of stuff. It is not going to happen. Final rating, out of 10 Barbies, the answer is negative all the Barbies.
But what do I do with my old Barbie?
What do? Here's what you do. Just take your old Barbie before it's too late and run to the toy store.
So we recorded our discussion of the Barbie film, and we had about 20 minutes of making fun of Ben Shapiro because, I mean, of course. But then Mr. Shapiro, the, very serious political commentator, serious thinker, man who writes books about serious topics, he's dropped 3 more YouTube videos about Barbie, and I just have to point out how dumb he is and how stupid his critiques are. His criticisms of the film make like no sense. He calls things like plot holes that aren't. There's a lot of things that are like, were you paying attention? Oh no, you were just taking notes with your phone as the flashlight? Ben, what are you doing? Okay, learn to write in the dark. I do this. You have a little, a little paper pad. You don't need to look down. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be barely legible. Learn to write in the dark, you weirdo.
Yeah, try being your grandmother. Seriously.
His mind is so clouded with hate, like he's a Sith or something, that he just can't even watch a film because anything that might be woke is triggering him, and now he's like scribbling furiously while he's like missing whole plot points. Just remember, Ben is not upset, right? You guys are upset that he's upset, but he's not upset about what he had to say. So we're the ones that are upset. He's not upset, you're upset.
Why are you so upset about a movie about a doll? I don't know, why are you so upset that I'm upset about a movie about a doll? The thing that upset me about the film is that it was a waste of my time. Why are you so upset? Just why upset? I don't like the movie. You like the movie? Okay, we can have those differences. Why are you so upset? Has it ever occurred to you because you're more religious than I am? I'm the one here wearing the funny little hat attesting to my belief in God. But you guys are wearing your Barbie shirts in attestation to your idolatry of a sexual revolution moment that is played out.
He compares the response of the internet that's making fun of him for burning his Barbies.
Is like the reaction of the Islamic world when someone burns a Quran in Sweden.
He's equating photoshopping him to have no genitals to like being decapitated. So apparently Barbie is to leftists as the Quran is to Muslims.
People think on the left that they live without religion. They do not. They have a religion. Their religion is secular leftism.
The Babylon Bee is even making fun of him, which if you don't know, it's sort of like The Onion, but not as good. And it's like conservative. But apparently the making fun of him is because he's triggered the left. But even your side's making fun of you, buddy.
The entire internet is very, very upset.
So we further established that he doesn't understand jokes or humor. And he claims that the reason he gets made fun of a lot on the internet for certain things he does and not other things is because it happens when he attacks our idols, the like religious idolatry.
Like there are certain cultural figures, cultural idols, where if you criticize them, you have violated the sacred honor of the Vestal Virgins. And if I make fun of Cardi B on the show for like 15 minutes, the entire internet goes aflame with memes. But if I like have a spat with Nicki Minaj, nobody cares. Like there are certain figures who are just like beyond.
Ben, the reason you get made fun of for some things is because in the Barbie one, you're a grown man, political commentator, takes yourself very seriously. Just the worst possible person to invite to a party, like personified.
Ooh.
Starts burning fucking Barbie dolls in the parking lot. You're gonna get made fun of for that, buddy.
When we set fire to Barbies, you know, for the shock value of it and because it's funny, we know what we're doing. The joke is the joke. You can pretend not to get the joke, or you can just be offended by it, which is really what's happening here.
So when you don't get memed and turned into a giant laughingstock, when you attack one musician, but then when you attack another one and you do, it's not because that one's like an idol that's protected and this one isn't, and we don't care. It's because in this video, you said spit in my mouth.
Hop on top, I want to ride. I do a Kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes.
That's when you get made fun of. Like, he can't understand. Like, he wasn't bullied enough as a child. Someone needed to bully this man more so he would know why he's getting bullied. And he didn't, as you know, our education system failed him.
Wet ass P word.
Anyway, this very serious thinker has a lot to say about Disney princesses and Barbies. You know, we're not definitely gonna make fun of him for that.
It is the ideology of the sexual revolution that has been promulgated by the social left in this country. If you question it, then you must atone. You must be brought to heel. Spanish Inquisition style.
He's gonna get a fatwa and a Spanish Inquisition combined. He's basically Salman Rushdie for his takedown on Barbie.
Because this film took years off my life. It is long, it is boring, and it's terrible.
I mean, there's your poster, there's your blurb. Just put like, you're welcome 2051, because this movie took that year off his life. I just decided when he's gonna die.
They're talking about beaching each other off, right? There's like
it's a meta joke about toxic masculinity, right? It's like, you can't be good at thing, I'm better at thing. Anyway, Ben Shapiro calls this gay masturbation jokes. Gay masturbation.
And we get a series of gay masturbation jokes.
Ben Shapiro, I have questions. Number one, if you jerk yourself off, is that gay? So if I manhandle a wiener,
and we have 4 of them,
and it's mine, it's not gay. If it's someone else's, it's gay. Right, that's my understanding. He says gay masturbation, as if there is straight masturbation. So it's... Ben Shapiro thinks that humans are so interchangeable that if you jerk off another person, it's still masturbation? Is jerking yourself off gay? It's not a little gay.
And my biggest plot hole is the most obvious plot hole in the entire film, which is Ken takes over. He creates Kendom, and for some reason decides to have a popular referendum.
So he's still mad, and he's bringing it up again in more videos, that the constitutional amendment plot doesn't make sense, which is like, Ben, oh my God. The Kens are having a vote to make a constitutional amendment, making it the patriarchy. Like, how the fuck are you wording this constitutional amendment, right? It's clearly like a meta joke.
If it's a fascist patriarchy, why is there a vote?
The plot of the film can't make sense unless we know like the details of how their constitutional amendment process works.
None of this makes any damn sense. Okay, the Kens are about to have a vote to change the Constitution. Why? Why?
We just put on the screen at the beginning, like it's Star Wars, the like whole constitution of Barbieland, so you could study that and figure out their constitutional amendment process. That would be good, is what you're saying?
What is the breakdown demographically of the Kens and the Barbies? Are there as many Kens as Barbies? Because why would they hold a vote?
The Barbies would outvote the Kens, so why would they call a vote? Why would they call a vote? Ben, holy fuck, how little were you paying attention to the film? When Ken returns to Barbieland, he brings with him the idea of the patriarchy, and he immediately turns it into the Kendom patriarchy land, and the women had no defense against it like it was smallpox. And so we see Barbieland full of Barbies that are now like brainwashed by the patriarchy, like President Barbie is now just like a waitress or something. They're all the Kens are just like, bring me a brewski, and they're just like happy to play Stepford wife. All of the other Barbies are all brainwashed and think this is great and they should be subservient to Ken, and they have to like blow their minds like Matrix style to reveal like, oh wait, what happened? I was brainwashed. Oh. So in this situation, when all the Barbies are brainwashed, if you were to call the vote, they would all vote. However, Ken, their husbands or boyfriends, I guess, told them to. But it is very obvious the Kens are in control. So it seems like Ben doesn't understand that sometimes people vote against their self-interest? You're telling me no women vote for Mike Pence? Okay.
P word. P word is female genitalia.
Doesn't he have to think that liberals are voting against their self-interest because, like, we're just wrong? And so we're voting for politicians that are ruining America? Isn't that voting against our self-interest because we're all brainwashed by Hollywood, right, Ben? And he's so mad that there's a 48-hour wait. It's like, why would you hold the vote 48 hours later? Why not just do it right then? You know, why? Oh, because it's terrible, crappy writing. It's like, okay, well, first off, it's a joke. It's a meta joke. It's the same thing with, like, in a movie where they're like, oh man, I'm gonna lose the house unless we raise $50,000. And then they turn on the TV and it's like, the tournament is this weekend and the first prize is $50,000. Oh, we get to save our house. It's like, I think Dodgeball makes fun of it. His critique doesn't make sense, even if you don't think it's a joke, right? So he's saying, why allow the Barbies time to formulate a plan or try to stop them or do anything? Why not just ram it through right then? I would counter, Ben, that the Kens don't really know what they're doing. Ken's job is beach, not constitutional law, right? He goes to the real world. He thinks the patriarchy is horses and dudes being in charge also. He really liked the horse part of that. So when he goes back and he's like enforcing the patriarchy and now they're like turning the government into the patriarchy, do you expect them to not make any mistakes?
If it's a fascist patriarchy, why is there a vote?
Yes.
If you come back in and you seize all power, why are you then providing for a vote with 48 hours notice?
That's funny.
So if the Kens were like more adept at enforcing fascism like immediately, like they didn't make any mistakes, like they really learned from fascism history, he wouldn't then complain that the Kens are just dumb and their job is beach and that they shouldn't be this good at fascism? Like, okay, yeah, okay.
Whenever I do these reviews, like, oh, you're taking the movie too seriously. The movie takes itself too seriously, guys.
So their plan is to get the Kens all distracted and fighting each other so they'll forget to vote. Right. An October surprise. This is an advanced electoral technique, I would say.
So they have 48 hours to stop this vote, which shouldn't be happening in the first place because it makes no plot sense. Because the men are fascists. They're going to turn the men against each other by switching partners.
So there's a scene where all these Barbies are with their Kens, and the Kens are all like playing an acoustic guitar at the Barbie, and like she's like, that's great, honey, this isn't awkward. And so there's all of them in a circle at the beach, Barbies and Kens. And what they do is they have some Barbies get up, leave their Ken, and go sit with a different Ken and like admire that Ken. And so there are some Kens with two Barbies looking at them, and some Kens that don't have a Barbie. So a lot of jealousy happens, yeah, and then they all fight. And then we go do our vote while they're fighting. Okay, makes perfect sense.
Ken, classic Barbie and classic Ken, they're gonna be together, but then they're going to move on to the other Kens, and the Kens are gonna start fighting each other. Now, guess what would happen if a bunch of beautiful women decided to switch to other men simultaneously? You know what the men would do? They would throw a party.
So Ben Shapiro's a swinger. So I think Ben Shapiro is implying that if a woman came along who is as attractive or more as his wife and just was like, I'm your Barbie now, and then his wife, who he's married to, you know, just went to some other guy, that he'd be fine with it. In fact, he would throw a party and he wouldn't get jealous when his wife is going and banging that guy. Perfect trade, right? Women are completely interchangeable. I would just like to say to Mr. Shapiro that A, that's not what happens in the film. They don't just trade one over. The Barbies are smarter than you. They go pair up so a guy gets two, and then these guys have zeros, and then he's got two, and this one's got zero, and this one's got. So the ones with no Barbies are mad. You should kind of know that incels are mad. You should probably know that one. I think you like. They're like a big part of your audience. So I wonder what Ben Shapiro's wife would think about his swappity-doo party the men would throw. I think that's interesting. She might be happy. You know what? His wife would probably be happy if they could, everybody switch, go one to the left. Who wouldn't be happy? The woman who gets traded to Ben Shapiro. Let's call her Sahara Barbie.
These women are describing a serious gynecological condition. Kate McKinnon, who, is playing essentially lesbian Barbie.
She, at one point, talks about, really wanting to see Ken's shapeless bulge. She wants to see it. So I don't think she's a lesbian. So according to him, the main problem of the film, right, Barbie, your main character, has a problem. It's that she has persistent thoughts of death. So therefore, you must have a solution to that problem. Because that's how all movies work, for it to be a plot.
Yeah.
Okay, so the problem with the entire movie being about that is that you then have to have a solution to that. The problem with the solution is that it's not actually a solution for any of her problems.
Yep.
How does she solve the irrepressible threat of death by going to the gynecologist? The answer is she doesn't.
To overcome the fear of death. That has to be the only way to resolve this. And he has some suggestions. Number one, find Jesus and then get eternal life in heaven because you find Jesus. So that would make a good plot. Ben Shapiro thinks this would be a good film. Barbie leaves Barbieland, goes to a church. And that's the movie.
Then presumably, the answer to irrepressible thoughts of death is some sort of spiritual solution.
Or you defeat death by having children. Ben Shapiro thinks having children is defeating death.
Mm-hmm. She goes to the real world and she falls in love with a real guy. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the real world has all of its problems, but there's a real guy there who she wants to be with and have kids with, right? I mean, that would actually be a plot to the movie. Church, family, right? Yep. These would be like the answers to irrepressible fear of death. Is the way you overcome death is by progenerating and having children and grandchildren.
He's always bringing up that he has 4 kids as it's proof that he's a real man. He's real masculine because he has 4 kids. He's real masculine. It's proof he's had sex, I think.
And unlike all of these single women with wine and cats who went and loved this movie, I have 4 children. A thing that women like to do, historically speaking, is have babies and raise them.
Yes.
I know. I'm married to a doctor wife and we have 4 of them.
Your fear of death vanishes if you have children. Maybe we should ask some young mothers whose husbands watch Ben Shapiro a lot, if they've overcome their fear of death once they popped a baby out. Let's see how that went. And of course, a liberal, claptrap, feminist film can't have Barbie go into the real world and then find Jesus, or get married and have babies. Those are not available options, and so they're screwed because those are the only options that solve Barbie's problem of fears of death.
She is forbidden by the strictures of secular feminism from going for the thing. The answer to irrepressible thoughts of death is some sort of spiritual solution or familial solution. She created a box for herself. And because that box was secular feminism, there was no way to escape it, just on an ideological level.
Right. So all the solutions, all the plots they can come up with don't resolve that problem because they have to stick to their feminist ideals.
Greta Gerwig is now representative of an actual religious worldview. The idolatry of Greta Gerwig, and that is that Greta Gerwig is channeling a reverse biblical morality.
So feminists are all wrong here. Feminists are all unhappy.
Instead, what they have to dream of is being a single wine/cat lady at 40 years old and maybe making partner at the big firm before realizing it's too late, she should have frozen her eggs. That is what we can all aspire to be. I'm sorry to break it to you, but feminism has been a giant fail along these lines. The natural orientation of woman is to find man, and to settle down with man, and to have children.
So seriously, he thinks the plot has to be Barbie goes to the real world and then meets a cute missionary boy who teaches her Judaism, and then she converts, and then she has his babies, and now she's happy. That has to be the plot.
If you say, for example, that women should have children, that they should get married, if you say that the height of human aspiration is not, in fact, sexual pleasure, that actually there are things you should do in this life that are higher and better.
This is seriously his worldview, that if you leave the God-given path of be straight woman, then get married and then have non-wet sex, unmoist sex, pop out babies, and then you live forever because you had babies, and then you go to heaven. And so feminists can't possibly be happy. And what feminists do is they tell you that you're unhappy, and so you leave that. Or they brainwash the little girls that you can't do that.
All of the Barbies enjoying the patriarchy is one of the best things about the film. We're cheerleaders, and we're bringing men food, and we're kind of enjoying ourselves. And they actually have to be informed that actually they're miserable. It's suggesting women have no agency, really, right? They have to be told by the feminists that they're miserable at 40 years old and maybe making partner at the big firm before realizing it's too late. She should have frozen her eggs.
You'll be unhappy if you're a mom, so you have to be a career lady, right? That's what feminists believe, not that you have a choice. So that's why all feminists are old, spinster, wine-drinking cat ladies, because they're unhappy. He even accidentally reveals something, I think.
They think that this market is for 25-year-old moms and 6-year-old daughters, or rather 35-year-old moms and 6-year-old daughters.
Anymore, you can't get married at 18 and pop out babies at 19. Like, he thinks there should be teen pregnancy, but they're married. Like, that's the goal. Women need to become baby makers immediately in their teenage years. He also seems quite mad that Barbie doesn't end up with Ken, because she's like destined to be with Ken because it's how God made her. Is God Mattel? Like, he's basically saying that the solution to her problem is to marry Ken and then have Ken's babies.
To create paradise is that men and women must be separated from one another and cannot actually have interactions. Now, I do think that Greta Gerwig can't actually hold this thesis because the thesis is unsupportable.
The ending of the film, she's going to the gynecologist, and it's like, oh, this is part of the theme of like becoming a woman. So maybe she's gonna go look for not the man she was like arranged to marry by other forces, but she's gonna go to the real world and like have her own life and make her own way in the world and find a man she likes, or maybe a woman, who knows?
First of all, super transphobic.
weird.
That apparently what made Barbie a woman was the growing of the vagina, right?
But he says that this is Barbie, the film, and the character turning away from the one solution to her problem, which is she has to be with Ken. So I think Ben's interpretation of the film is that Barbie has two choices. Either marry Ken and have his babies while converting to a Judeo-Christian worldview, or become an unhappy wine-drinking cat lady. Those are the only two paths she can take. Well, okay, maybe, in his defense, he's being consistent here, that rejecting Ken is rejecting all men. Because remember, all partners of equal attraction value are just interchangeable. You can just swap them around and it makes no difference. They're all basically the same thing. So rejecting Ken is rejecting all men because Ben Shapiro's a swinger, okay? Remember? All right. Remember when he implied that? Oh, I do.
I don't feel beautiful anymore.
Ben Shapiro is upset that the film Barbie does not explain what the human experience is. How are you gonna then like have a film about the human experience when you don't explain to camera what the human experience is? Like, come on, screenwriting 101, people.
That would make sense if they actually explained what the human experience is.
And the thing that really upset Ben Shapiro, but he's not upset. You're upset that he attacked your religious idols. He's not upset, but the thing that Ben Shapiro is really upset about is the laziness of the writing.
I get angry at lazy. I really get angry at lazy.
Which, of course, he doesn't understand any of the meta jokes in the film. As an example of a meta joke, in Austin Powers 2, they do some time travel, and Austin Powers is like, well, but what about Paradox? And then, oh no, I've gone cross-eyed. And then I think Basil Exposition says something like, try not to think about it too much, just have a good time. And then Austin turns the camera and says, that goes for you too. That's kind of the like plot points in this film. They're like kind of meta, kind of breaking the fourth wall. Like, he doesn't understand any of those. He calls all of those elements lazy writing.
Meanwhile, the Mattel executives are chasing her. Question: why are they chasing her? Barbie's back in Barbieland. Why are they still chasing her? No one knows. It doesn't make any sense. They literally say there will be consequences you can't even imagine. They're like, what consequences? They're like, it's the laziest shitty writing. God.
If the Mattel executives were super serious and said something about like, well, if humans go to Barbieland through the portal, that would cause a rip in the fabric of space toy time, and that could destroy the world. And we take it seriously and treat it like a thriller, that would be good. That would be good writing. So apparently only good writing is like, take it very serious political thrillers where women become baby makers. That's the only way to write a story. Okay. Like, a bunch of his critiques are basically that they don't explain stuff enough. We don't know enough details about their constitution. We don't know enough details about how the portal works.
Why are you building a wall? What is the necessity for a wall? Also, what is the breakdown demographically of the Kens and the Barbies? Are there as many Kens as Barbies? Why are they chasing her? No one explains.
So if they were just like throwaway lines that were just mundane details about, well, the portal will be open for this long, and here's how the portal will close, they'll be trapped if this happens. And if it's really shocking he didn't make it as a screenwriter in Hollywood, you know, even though he was a Nepo baby, he couldn't even turn Nepo baby into being a failed screenwriter. Ben is also upset that after Barbie becomes like a real woman, and then we defeat the patriarchy and we return to like Barbiedom. Okay, he's upset that they don't all learn and then become equal, that they don't just achieve perfect equality at the end of the film.
Right? The end is that Barbieland ends up being maintained by essentially subjugating the men, right? The men have to go back to subjugation. Was this film written in 1943? Who wrote this film? Well, we know who wrote this film. A feminist writer who gets paid millions of dollars to make horse.
Barbieland is set in the 50s. Barbie drives a like 1956 Corvette. Go to the beach. It looks like a fucking scene out of a movie with Beach Boys music. He's upset that we go back to the men being subservient, the men being run. It's a toxic matriarchy. And even at the end, when we've all learned lessons, that the men go back to being subservient. And there's a line in there, something like the Kens are like, well, but can we at least have like one Supreme Court justice? And the Barbies are like, we'll give you like a federal appellate court judge, you know, a little lower, right? Which I think what that's saying is that even though we might all learn, not all of us, obviously, even though in, say, the 1950s, we might have like a wave of ism, do we then overnight have perfect equality? So if you were woke in the 50s, 60s, and they're like, oh, okay, equality, then you have the experience of watching for decades as women don't have equality and are trying, and they finally get a Supreme Court justice like a few decades later. Okay. But he thinks this progress should be instant.
Right? The men have to go back to subjugation.
You can pretend not to get the joke, or you can just be offended by it, which is really what's happening here.
He's also upset, though he's not upset. You're upset. He's not upset. You're upset at him, and now he's upset about us being upset about the fact that the ladies on The View are upset with him, and he thinks that they're gaslighting him.
The insane gaslighting by people like Whoopi Goldberg is amazing. It's just a movie about a doll. Why are you so upset about a movie about a doll? I don't know. Why are you so upset that I'm upset about a movie about a doll? Because it's not just a movie about a doll, you idiots, obviously.
There's a part in the film where Barbie is like upset and is wishing like everything could go back to normal. Like, I don't want, why are things changing? Like, can we just stop the change and just go back to like the stereotypical status quo we had before? And the other person, I think it's the real life woman, says to her that like life is change. Things are always changing and you can't stop it. You just gotta roll with it. And I think Ben Shapiro is probably triggered by this because a conservative, you know, he doesn't want anything to change. He wants to go back to the 50s.
25-year-old moms and 6-year-old daughters, or rather 35-year-old moms and 6-year-old daughters.
That has to be triggering to Ben Shapiro. That's like the most anti-conservative message imaginable. Just like, yep, things are going to change. You know, one day you're going to be an old grandpa and your grandchildren are going to be talking about, I don't know, transgender frogs are the coolest new food. What are the grandkids going to be into that's going to trigger Ben Shapiro?
Beat it up, N-word.
Eating quinoa. This is the thing with conservative comedians. Anything that's a new trend, they just hate it. It's like, quinoa, what's this quinoa shit? I only eat oat bran, fake meat burgers. This is bullshit. You gotta eat nothing but ground up pig anus. That's good for you, you know? Like, telling Ben Shapiro that life is change is like telling my grandpa that you can't call Tiger Woods that colored golfer anymore. Like, and my grandpa, who called Tiger Woods that he voted for Obama. Okay? Like, because he was pro-union, because he was a steel worker. And so the fact that we have movies that aren't about women deciding to not deciding, they should be forced by the forces of nature, because it was written down by men thousands of years ago that God said, and you should just be a mom and make babies. And if your movie's not about that, it's woke bullshit, and you can't, you know, that's why women aren't happy anymore, because they're getting brainwashed into thinking they have choices when their only choice where they can be happy is to be religious and make babies. It's the only choice. Oh, and you can't be gay, you know, because God said that was bad. According to his literary analysis of what some men wrote down in the Bronze Age, this is what God's plan is. Therefore, you're going away from what God wants. And with that, I'm gonna set something on fire. What should I set on fire to get the most clicks? If I could set a puppy on fire, that would probably get a lot of clicks. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. Club a seal, make a deal. I could chug a 3.5-year-old Bud Light. I could chug that. You think that's any good? Like an unboxing video? Man drinks old Bud Light, and then I turn inside out. I don't know. Maybe there's a queer around. I can get a lot of clicks instead of queer on fire. Anyway, I'm gonna set some things on fire now. So I have a question. Why did Hollywood market this horror film at children?
Was clearly marketed at moms and their 8-year-old girls, because who plays with Barbies? 8-year-old girls. It was clearly marketed at that group. And then it was a bait and switch.
Do you guys ever think about dying? Why are these men looking at me?
At me.
And then it was a bait and switch.
Oh, I won't let you do just one appendectomy.
But I'm a man.
But not a doctor.
Can I talk to a doctor?
You are talking to a doctor.
Angry feminist claptrap.
Right, it's clearly a horror film. Just imagine the toxic man sitting in the theater next to his wife while Barbie radicalizes her into thinking that he has to, like, clean up his poop streaks in his underwear, which, god damn it, like, if I have to clean my poop streaks, my skid marks, that's gay. And, like, this Chinese propaganda is radicalizing my woman so that I will have to clean my butt. Just picture conservative men sitting in the theater next to their wives, and their wives are laughing at jokes about how, like, yeah, even though you both have full-time jobs, she still has to, like, be your mommy, you know? And it's like, wait, when we leave, is she gonna, like, want to change things about how I don't have to do stuff at home? Oh my god, this is a horror film. I just like imagining all of the very silent car rides home. So it's no wonder that conservatives like Ben Shapiro are really triggered by this film. It's basically the equivalent of you turn 14 and your mom's like, well, now you're old enough to do your own laundry. And you're like, why is society changing? I hate change. Like, the Holt system worked great. So you teach that bitch a lesson, you know? First time you do your own laundry, you pour half a gallon of bleach in there to show that bitch that you're really incompetent. So anyway, Ben Shapiro, you should really stay in your lane. Film criticism, you're not good at it. I mean, he liked Rise of Skywalker. So whatever you were doing a week before Barbie came out, just go back to doing that. You know, the, like, politics stuff, like platforming and agreeing with sex traffickers, you know.
What is the Matrix? When I say the Matrix, I think there are certain agendas which are being pushed. I think the goal is to control people's minds to a point where they don't discuss anything that's important.
Now again, a lot of what he is saying right here is true, Andrew Tate.
Now I have to explain to my mom who Andrew Tate is. Like, god damn it.
If I believed in depression, I would have been depressed in jail. But I can't be depressed if I don't believe in it. In 1955, if you met the hot girl in the Nebraskan town, if you meet her today, she's being offered to go to Courchevel and go skiing in France, and she's being offered to fly to Dubai. Right? It's getting harder and harder as a man to even find the most basic human function of reproduction.
Okay, so everything he's saying here is true. Okay, well, every single so
at first I thought it was kind of strange that conservative, religious, virgin until marriage Ben Shapiro would be agreeing with Andrew Tate, sex trafficker guy who's like, let's teach men how to be pickup artists. Like, those don't seem to be similar ideologies. But they do have something in common, which is that they both treat women as, like, objects to be, like, obtained and then subjugated. Way to go, you guys. Found something in common. That's great. So maybe stick to the boring politics, Ben. Not, you know, the culture stuff and pickup artists. Stick to the boring policy things. You know, talk about, like, taxes and I don't know, like, global warming.
It's hot outside. You know what I can do about that? 0 things. Thank God we have this thing called air conditioning. It's awesome. You know, it's a great cure for being super duper hot outside, being a first world country.
You know why the audio in this video sucks? Because all these air conditioners running because of the liberal global warming propaganda. So now it's time for this liberal cuck to do a little culture canceling, which the right never does. You know, they're all about free speech and they never cancel stuff. Except, though, they constantly do. They're always attacking the new Budweiser, Target, any movie that comes out. But the left, where the cancel culture people. I seem to recall that cancel culture has existed since, like, time immemorial, mostly with, like, religious assholes. I seem to recall a very prominent musical act who had their records destroyed en masse by a religious group, and that was Sinead O'Connor. So now it's time for me to trigger Ben Shapiro. What better way than to light something on fire and get that clickbait, baby? And so I think a good thing to burn would be a story about a 5'6" man of middling value who, through just sheer grit and perseverance and determination and lying, was able to tell the world a story about how mid men are great, was able to become a hero for mid tryhards everywhere. His story of heroically, persistently convincing people that they should make a movie about something completely mundane is a lesson to us all about Hollywood propaganda. Okay, let's try not to set any puppies on fire. Unless we want clicks. Yep, get close to that fire. Okay.